Utilizing a redeveloped version of the Continental's 6.0-liter twin-turbo W12 engine, the GT Speed is capable of 642 horsepower, a 7 horsepower increase from last year's, and 620 pounds-ft of torque, 14.75 pounds-ft increase. With a breath of fresh power, the GT Speed will be able to hit a top speed of 206 mph and rocket from 0 to 60 mph in 3.9 seconds, 0.2 seconds quicker. Along with the revamped engine are a slew of new modifications that make traveling in the car more luxurious than ever before. For a more refined connection to the road, Bentley has modified the steering wheel to have a more sculpted and sporty feeling, which fits the driver's hands like never before. Additionally, Bentley has also added the option for semi-aniline hide that forms the straight-flute seating. Unveiled along with the GT Speed is the new GT Speed Black Edition. This new variant for Bentley's fastest is available for both the coupe and convertible styles. What makes the Black Edition special are the high-gloss black trimmings on the exterior, carbon fiber trimming in the cabin, contrasting colors on the front splitter, side skirts and rear diffuser, and contrasting leather that matches the exterior accents. Bentley continues to push their Continental GT Speed to its limit, resulting in a luxurious car that is both lavish and capable. The Continental GT Speed is a prime example of the English automaker's ability to stay true to their heritage, all while keeping up with modern engineering.
Our friend Ajahn just spotted the upcoming 2018 Bentley Continental GT wearing barely any camouflage in Germany. Bentley's most popular model is set to be revealed in due course and will feature many exciting new features. Bentley recently held an exclusive VIP preview event in Munich, where it showed the complete vehicle to a select few customers. The new Continental GT will be built on the MSB platform, which is shared with VW Group colleague Porsche. The chassis of all new Continentals will therefore be built in Porsche's Leipzig plant. The same platform is used for the latest Porsche Panamera. It is much lighter than Bentley's previous platform and has a more favorable weight distribution. What's more exciting is that the new Continental GT will feature many design cues from the well-received EXP10 Speed 6 concept car. It gets larger headlights at the front, carefully shaped taillights at the rear, but will maintain the large oval exhaust tips that have become so characteristic for Bentley over the years. We expect the 2018 Bentley Continental GT to be offered with the mighty W12 from the Bentayga, as well as an updated 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 which also powers the Panamera Turbo, and possibly a V6 plug-in hybrid powertrain.
One-third of drivers involved with ride-sharing services such as Uber, Ingogo, GoCatch, and RideBoom, are yet to register for GST or to fully declare their income. Assistant Commissioner Tom Wheeler said more than 100,000 individuals have received a payment for a ride-sharing service since the Australian Taxation Office started collecting data in August 2015, but about one-third of them still have not registered for GST and/or fully declared income. The ATO has written to 60,000 drivers looking to make extra cash by transporting passengers on popular ride-sharing services, reminding them of their obligations. Uber and other ride-sharing drivers must be registered for GST following an ATO ruling that took effect in August 2015. Before that, they had been able to avoid GST payments by arguing they fall under the $75,000 turnover threshold at which GST applies. Uber legally challenged the ruling, saying they were not like a taxi service, but in a landmark decision in February the federal court agreed with the ATO that Uber drivers were like a taxi and thereby have to register for and pay GST even if they fall under the threshold. Mr. Wheeler said the ATO had written to 60,000 drivers since August 2015, and would continue to write to other drivers who come onto their radar. We are seeing numbers of drivers growing, but there's quite a significant churn rate, he said. Our monitoring tells us that only half of these 60,000 drivers received a payment for driving in the recent January to March 2017 quarter. A large number of those drivers were registered for GST and meeting their obligations, but some drivers were yet to register. The ATO has more work to do in educating drivers about their tax obligations and making sure they comply, Mr. Wheeler said. The ATO collects more than 650 million pieces of data each year and has recently started receiving information directly from ride-sourcing facilitators, financial institutions and individuals using ride-sharing apps providing credit card details to companies like Uber. This also means that if you misreport your income, red flags will be raised in our systems and we'll start asking questions, Mr. Wheeler said. Since the sharing economy was a new part of the economy, he said the ATO would give people extra time to get their tax affairs in order. But if ride-sharing drivers were still not registered towards year's end, and/or hiding income, the ATO may need to take compliance action including reviews and audits. If you're providing ride-sourcing services and do not have an Australian business number and GST registration, you should make this your first priority, he said. By reporting your ride-sourcing income and GST you can also claim tax deductions and GST credits in respect of your business expenses, such as your car, fuel, servicing and your smartphone and data usage. At tax time often claims made for work-related expenses were for items that were for both business and private use. Mr. Wheeler reminded taxpayers that you can only claim the part that relates to your business use. Employers letting their staff use ride-sharing services, rather than a licensed taxi, could be liable for fringe benefits tax, FBT. Uber, which has long argued it is not a taxi service, told Fairfax Media that it now hopes the ATO will treat it like a taxi for FBT purposes.
The Australian Taxation Office, ATO, has reminded Uber drivers that they have information from third parties that will allow them to track any income is omitted from tax returns. With the tax return season due to start Monday, ATO Assistant Commissioner Tom Wheeler said his organization harvests more than 650 million pieces of data every year to match up against what individuals are actually reporting. We recently started receiving information directly from ride-sourcing facilitators to better support drivers to report their tax obligations correctly, he said. This also means that if you misreport your income, red flags will be raised in our systems and we'll start asking questions. While businesses that generate less than $75,000 per year do not have to register for GST, taxi drivers must report everything, and Uber and other ride-share drivers are counted as operating a taxi for this purpose. If you're providing ride-sourcing services and do not have an Australian business number and GST registration, you should make this your first priority, said Wheeler. By reporting your ride-sourcing income and GST you can also claim tax deductions and GST credits in respect of your business expenses, such as your car, fuel, servicing and your smartphone and data usage. The ATO first warned in January that data matching, similar to Centrelink's controversial welfare overpayment crackdown, was actively in progress to scrutinize Australians making an income from sharing economy apps such as Uber, Airbnb and Airtasker. Ride-share drivers were generally classified as sole traders, according to Wheeler, and as such could use the My Deductions tool in the ATO app to make their tax record-keeping easier.
Jim Kennington joked he thought the ute he was driving was going to disappear when it got swallowed up by a sinkhole in Perth's north. The 50-year-old was driving the Isuzu ute on Friday morning when he turned onto a roundabout in Region Waters Estate in Wanneroo when he suddenly felt the car sink. I didn't know what was going on and all of a sudden the driver's side wheel started to slowly sink, he told Way Today. Luckily, I was going really slow because it was a suburban roundabout and I could see water on the road. The next thing I know there was water up to my ankles and I had to climb out of the passenger side door. Mr. Kennington, who works for Lincoln Century, a company that make cabinets, windows and door hardware, said over the next 5 to 10 minutes the car kept sinking further into the hole. He feared the car was going to disappear out of sight. You see all these sinkholes around that world that swallow up cars and houses quite rapidly, so I was wondering what was going to happen, he said. But it wasn't panic stations because it was happening pretty slowly. Mr. Kennington said the ute only suffered minor damages and should be back on the road in no time. A self-employed truckie called Andrew posted a photo on Twitter of the ute, nose first in the hole. The picture shows what appears to be 3 emergency service workers standing around trying to fathom what happened.